Welcome to Convos from the Couch from LifeStance Health, where each episode you'll hear engaging and informative conversations with leading mental health professionals that will help guide you on your journey to leading a healthier, more fulfilling life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Convos from the Couch by LifeStance Health. I'm Nikki Lienza, and on today's episode, I'll be talking with Bryan Manning, professional counselor from our Lexington, Kentucky office, and he will be sharing some information about his intensive outpatient program. So welcome, Bryan. Great to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. You know, this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while on the podcast. You won a great program down there in Lexington, and I happen to run one up here as well. So I know you and I are going to have lots to talk about. I know we're calling it the Intensive Outpatient Program, but it's also known as IOP as well. So throughout the episode, I know we'll be referring it to IOP. So as we jump in, let's have you tell us about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, I'm down in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm at the Monarch location. And so running the IOP, the Intensive Outpatient Program. So I've been doing that for a little while now. But prior to that, I've been in the field for about over 10 years now in various settings. I've worked in, outpatient, of course, community mental health, rehab, and I've done a couple other like group work things. So I've been doing a lot of things in a variety of places. But now I'm running the IOP, the Intensive Outpatient Program. And then I do, again, just general outpatient. I do see adults, for various mental health issues, depression, anxiety, and substance use individually as well.
It definitely sounds like you carry the experience with you to run an IOP, because I think running groups it's a different type of specialty than you would do as a professional counselor just running individual therapy. So you definitely sound like you carry that experience with you, which is really great, for sure. So tell us, what is actually an intensive outpatient program? Right.
Well, intensive outpatient program is kind of what it sounds. It can be intense at times. But for me, I like to think about, IOP on the continuum of care. Another way to think about it is like receiving medical attention and care. If you have a medical issue, you go to the doctor, you might see them once a month, maybe a couple of times a month. But if things aren't progressing, then you're going to increase treatment. You might, again, be seen more frequently or labs. Or potentially, go to a rehab or a hospital. Well, for mental health purposes, IOP serves something very similar in terms of increasing your level of care. So in many cases, individual one-on-one counseling is enough. Working through issues, developing coping skills. But at times, we're going to need more resources, support, frequency of sessions. And so that's what the IOP does to help, increase somebody's level of care.
And so is there specific criteria you are looking at to determine if someone is appropriate for an IOP?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thinking about the IOP on a continuum of care, on this end here, we have individual treatment. And then on the kind of far end, we have more inpatient or long-term care. IOP kind of sits in the middle of that. And so if somebody's needing more intensive treatment, we want to make sure we assess for like safety. If there are safety concerns, then we may want to consider an inpatient setting. Or if somebody's going through a detox or withdrawal, they may need to go to detox to make sure that they are safe, number one. And then, after that, we want to make sure that the IOP serves the needs of that particular individual. So that will look at what are their goals. Are they wanting to work on coping skills? If there's struggling with substance abuse, do they need that extra like accountability, like weekly drug screens? And so we look at their goals and make sure that the IOP would benefit them, because each IOP has its own personality, but they also has a different treatment course. And so we want to make sure that the care is what they'll receive.
Right. No, that's very important as well. I think looking at that level of care of IOP, you mentioned before, it's a bit of a higher level on the spectrum of care than just individual therapy. So if someone's really struggling and they're in individual therapy and they're needing even more care, that's where the bump up would be to IOP. And then even beyond that is something partial hospitalization programs. So it's even more intensive than an IOP. I think generally when we look at IOPs, it could be 3 or 4 days a week for 3 hours at a time, but a partial hospitalization program is going to be more like 5 days a week and pretty much all day or 6 hours a week, right? It's that one step below hospitalization, right?
We want to make sure we get that patient to the right level of care.
Exactly. And sometimes that might take some time working as a team trying to determine that, but I agree with you. It's really making sure we're getting that person at the right level of care. So in your particular IOP, are there specific topics that you cover?
Yeah, so each IOP will have their own, again, personality. But, for me, a lot of my experience has been CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, as well as for substances like motivational interviewing, stages of change, things of that nature. So my particular IOP does focus on both mental health, depression, anxiety, as well as substance abuse, alcohol, cocaine, heroin, opiates. So we do address both issues concurrently. And so, for me, I do a lot of CBT, cognitive therapy again. And so I really look at and work on managing our negative thoughts. And so we call them ANTs. Automatic negative thoughts. And so we spend a lot of time looking at those ants, trying to identify where they come from as well. But a lot of thought stopping skills, a lot of coping skills to challenge those automatic negative thoughts. So there's one element there. And then other ones, include really working on emotional regulation skills, working through like either an intense emotion or a particular intense craving. And so other topics I include working on boundaries. And how to be assertive, absolutely. So that may also include like identifying our triggers or warning signs, how we engage in either refusal skills, but setting healthy and assertive boundaries with others.
So how can it benefit a person to go through an intensive outpatient program?
Yeah, well, as we've said, really increasing that level of care. Individual treatment, you can see maybe once, maybe 4 times a month, once a week or so. But sometimes, again, we need more. And so that intensity, comes from, like you said, that 3 or 4 days a week, 3 hours a day. So you're really putting a lot of more focus and attention into yourself, your mental health and well-being. So it really puts a lot of, attention on those coping skills and a lot more consistency, even accountability. Coming in the next day is different than coming in the next week about how are you doing, how's this coping skill going. So really that intensity, that focus helps drive home some of those skills to be successful in coping with whatever may be going on at the time.
And can you also talk a bit about the group dynamic of how just the supportive group can be, of being a client in a group with other people who struggle with mental health or substance abuse issues?
Absolutely. Yeah, and this may be one of the biggest reasons why I do love IOP. I've been doing it for a while now, and love to see the growth that happens during that time. And so it is a really good way to expedite treatment and to, again, work on those skills. But one of the biggest factors, and again, probably one of my favorite factors, is seeing that group dynamic. People come in, they're nervous, they're scared. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? But after maybe a few few sessions, they start to realize, hey, I'm not alone. Hey, you did that, or you thought that, me too. There's that moment there to where, we realize that, hey, it's okay to struggle. I'm not struggling by myself. Other people are working on this too, and it's okay to have these concerns.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. One of it being one of my favorite parts of running group therapy, and then two, that notion of like, gosh, I'm not the only one struggling. I'm not alone.
Right.
And when you see that happen, I think there's that's definitely helpful to the healing process too, to recognize you're not alone in your struggles with things. So
absolutely, yeah, especially maybe more so with substances, but just in general, we're getting better. But there's a lot of stigma around mental health and substance abuse, and so that leads people to maybe hold back, not really come forward or share what they're feeling, out of shame or some other repercussion. And so going through the IOP really does help, I think, break that down to realize, hey, again, I'm not alone. Other people struggle as well, and I think it really kind of helps take down some of that stigma that keeps people from treatment, honestly.
Yeah, I agree for sure, and we definitely know we need to kind of continue to break down that stigma. Definitely. Absolutely. So, are there any other takeaways you'd like to share about IOP or an intensive outpatient program?
I do love the IOP. I love that group work, as we've discussed. It really is a great way to increase outcomes. They're a little bit quicker in terms of focusing on your mental health or substance concerns. So it's a great way to really increase treatment frequency, really sharpen those skills, and like we said, just get with other people who are thinking and feeling the same way you are. And so it really helps expedite that treatment and to get people better, which is what it's all about, taking care of the mental health and substance concerns.
Right. Oh, for sure. My gosh. Well, thank you, Bryan. Thank you for sharing some information about your program. And it sounds like an amazing program for sure. So thank you again. And I would love to have you back on.
I would love to.